Here is your file that you're starting to work on. We are going to show you a little bit about the canvas/image size feature before you start working. But first, I'm going to make a little bit of a drawing to show you what image versus canvas size does. So over here, my first layer, my first and only layer in this file is the background layer. As a habit, I always make a new layer. So you can either go to a little square with the plus sign down here that says create a new layer, or you can go up to layer, new, and layer. Gives you the option to name it. I usually save that for later when I know exactly what's on it. You can also rename something by double clicking the letters here. So 1, 2, and it lets me rename it, and I'll write test since this is all a test right now. And then I'll hit return to save it. And since test is above background and currently is selected, as you can see here with the little gray, lighter gray versus the dark gray, it is the one that I'm currently drawing on. So I make a quick scribble, and I use the little eyeball to the left of the test layer to hide and then show it. So I'm toggling hidden and then shown. I can also do the same to the background layer. Now the background layer is gone, and you can see the transparent pattern that Photoshop shows to say there are no pixels here, so it's completely transparent. And so now that I have some pixels actually drawn into Photoshop, it has some information to work with. I will show you the two different resizing tools that we're going to use, and one of them is called image size. So image size under the image menu brings up something very similar to what we saw when we made the file. So here you can do a little bit of tweaking. What I do when I'm sort of like resizing something, say I'm resizing this down as you would want to do. We're not going to resample, so we're going down. I'm going to hit 72 pixels per inch. So you can see the width is at 100%. So that is percent is something that covers everything from pixels, picas, everything you can think of, because it's a percentage. So it's 100%, and it's going to 72 resolution. So when I hit OK, not too much visually has changed, but now there are fewer pixels used. So when you get really close, there's actually fewer of them. And now I'm going to actually use the first hotkey, which is undo. In edit, you can see at the very top is the undo button. So it says undo image size. That was my last action I took. So it's Command Z. Probably all familiar with this already, but let's go Command Z. And now it just undid my image size. And if I go back into image and image size, you can see it's back to 300 dpi. Let's mess around a little bit. So if I wanted to change something, if I wanted to make this image instead of 3.3 inches, which is what the 1000 pixels translates to, let's say I know I need to make this image 4 by 4 for whatever reason. So I just hit the number 4 in the first, the width box, and because there is this little chain connecting them, Photoshop is like, oh, so you want these all to be connected. But because I changed this number and the height followed suit, my resolution also followed. So you can see that like when making it bigger, the resolution automatically went down. And if I go in and put in an even larger number, say 10, the resolution falls. So that's something to be aware of, is that you can resize your image once you've already made it, but then you run into the problem of this. So when you start with the 300 resolution, or 600 resolution image, I should say, when you start with 600 as your resolution, you can make your image within Photoshop twice as big and end up with 300 dpi as your resolution. So be aware that when you resize your image, it's going to change your resolution. Now, if I go back to, I'm actually going to put 300 as the resolution here, and because I've reset this resolution, it's also reset the height and width for me. So now let's look at canvas size. So canvas size, I think, is a really helpful tool. It's very similar to image size, but it does one thing differently that is important to know about. So I went to the same menu, which is image and then canvas size. So here's canvas size. And currently, let's move back to pixels. So currently it has the box at the top, current size, width, height, 1000 pixels. And now I can add canvas. So what this will do is it will increase the, or decrease if you want that as well, but it can also increase the size of your image within Photoshop without distorting your DPI or distorting any of your pixels. It's literally just sort of tacking on canvas around your image. Say I'm like, oh, this image is great, but I kind of want some more room. I want to like keep working and expand it out. And I want, let's say 3000 pixels. And I've entered the new size, 3000 width, 3000. So I have my new width set to 3000 and my new height set to 3000. And a key thing to remember about canvas size down here is this anchor sort of map. When you leave it like this, with the center of the 9 squares being the circle and all of these arrows this way, it will expand your canvas out from the center. So let's show you what that looks like. Hit OK. I'm zooming out to show you just how much canvas or extra space has been added to my image. And if we look at image size, it is still 300 dpi. So we have not altered the pixels, we've just added more space. I'm going to hit Command Z and undo to show you what the other options look like. This is slightly more advanced, but I think it's a good trick to learn early. We're going to go back to pixels, and I'm going to put 3000. I'm actually just going to add canvas space on one dimension. So I'm going to add more width, and I can actually add it in one direction versus the other. So if I click this arrow, say in the middle right square, you can see that the canvas is going to be added to my left side. So you can see that we're adding canvas space to the left of my existing image. And if I click the arrow here, it moves back to the center position. And if I click the left center arrow, it will add canvas on the opposite side. And you can also do that for vertical and verticals up and down. But since we're going width, I'm going to choose one side and then hit OK. So now I have a much longer image to work with. And let's do a lot of space just to show you guys. Like, you can add a ton. So now I have this enormous space to work with. And that is canvas versus image size.